Uh, Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the onset, I want to thank Dr. Arvind Gupta for IDSA and also from the staff of IDSA for inviting us and giving us a very warm welcome here and all the hospitality that you've extended to us. My presentation today on the some Myanmar perceptions on India, it is quite a broad-based presentation in which I would try to give you the feel of the perceptions of the government and the people of Myanmar towards India. And when I go to that, I have to, of necessity, go back into antiquity, into history, so that you will see the depth that we have for India and vice versa. Myanmar is located at the strategic crossroads of South and Southeast Asia. It is nestled between two giants, India and China, both with populations of roughly 1.2 billion each, and India with an area of over 3 million square kilometers, and China with an area of over 9 million square kilometers. The GDP of India is almost 2 trillion USD, while that of China is over 8 trillion USD. In comparison, Myanmar's GDP is just over 55 billion USD. It is just 670 square kilometers in size and has an estimated population of only about 60 million. Hence the perception of being sandwiched between two giants and treating both with considerable respect. After all, one cannot choose one's friends. One can choose one's friends, but not one's neighbors. It's quite clear. Also, Myanmar is India's only land bridge with Southeast Asia, in which it's the largest of all the mainland ASEAN states in terms of land area. However, Myanmar and its people are oriented very much towards Southeast Asia, and rather than towards South Asia. And we feel, the Myanmar people feel, when we look at South Asia as an observer from outside looking in. This is the perception of the Myanmar people. However, to go back into history, prehistory and antiquity, Myanmar's links to India go back very, very long time. They are deeply embedded in history, in culture, in religion, in literature, in law, in tradition, and the psyche of the people itself. Now the very name, the very word, Burma, derives from Brahma, which is the god of creation of the Hindu Trinity. Hence, we were known once upon a time as Brahma Desa, the land of Brahma. This is the derivation of the word that was later on corrupted by outside influences. In the royal history compiled by the last Myanmar dynasty, known as the Glass Palace Chronicles, the history gives the account of the first Myanmar city of Dagaon, that is the northern part of Burma, as being founded by Indian princes of the Secha clan. Indian princes of the Secha clan. Myanmar kings were called Rajas, and queens were called Devis. Kings and cities carried Sanskrit or Pali names. This is the heritage that we have. The links between the two in antiquity are undeniable. Actually, the Indians came to Myanmar in two streams in antiquity, one overland through Assam to Upper Myanmar, and the other by sea from South India to lower part of Myanmar, to Lower Myanmar. Hence the word it's taken a very different meaning now. Hence the word Kala. Kala means to cross over. But now it means to say someone that is intruding upon the land, the historical things of it that is happening now. Okay? Myanmar people see in India the cradle of Buddhism. It's a very, very precious heritage that we have. The vast majority of the people of Myanmar are Buddhists of the Theravada strain. Theravada Buddhism reached Myanmar from India via Sri Lanka. Famous Buddhist pilgrimage sites, including Bodh Gaya, continue to draw thousands of Myanmar pilgrims from all strata. Even within the military leadership, whenever they come to India, the first place of stop is always at the pilgrimage sites at Bodh Gaya, even for the military men. Okay? So the art of writing also we have received from India. It came in two streams, one from the north and one from the sea. The art of writing, our script, is actually derived from Indian script. So this is the connection and the value that we have with India. However, the pre-colonial environment and setting underwent a major transformation during the colonial period. Burma became a province of India, ruled from Calcutta as part of British India between 1883 and 1937. We were part of India, ruled from Calcutta. And during that era, Indians pretty crossed over the Bay of Bengal to find their fortunes in what is known, and what was known at that time also as the Golden Land, the very land of prosperity, land of opportunity. To find their fortunes in what is known as the Golden Land is during the British colonial time that the word Kala, as I mentioned earlier, Kala means first it was acceptable, it was somebody who crossed over and seemed settled. But now, with the British colonial and with so many people coming, it took on a negative meaning, a negative sense. The British had brought the Indians to assist them in conquering Myanmar and in governing the new and rich province. They were substantively engaged in administration, police, education, trade, and in agriculture. They were extensively used by the colonialists in law and order and security issues, thus putting them in an unenviable role of oppressors. They were seen as oppressors because the British used them as policemen, as riot control people, so it became a bad image. As the Indian community grew after the First World War, the lucrative business and industry fell increasingly into their hands, creating further resentment and dissatisfaction. Particularly the Chattiar from South India, who were prominent moneylenders, caused immense unrest and ill will as a result of their foreclosure on land held by Myanmar farmers in the vast Irrawaddy Delta in the wake of the crash in the price of rice during the Great Economic Depression of the 1930s. Thereafter, what happened is that nationwide anti-Hindu and anti-Muslim riots erupted throughout the country. This is part of the colonial legacy. At the start of the Second World War, more than 500,000 people, Indians, fled the country overland into Assam as a result of the Japanese invasion in 1942. However, after independence in 1948, Myanmar law saw the Indian community as resident aliens, began to see them as resident aliens, and in 1982, the Myanmar Citizens Law restricted citizenship for groups immigrating before 1823, thus largely excluding Indians from acquiring Myanmar citizenship. This is the negative effects that have come into the because of colonialism and post-colonial nationalism. It was from this colonial period that the pejorative perception of Myanmar people on Indians, irrespective of their religion, Christian, Hindu, or Muslim, took a firm hold. Unfortunately, this basic perception, or if you say misperception, towards Indians as a whole is still widely prevalent amongst the Myanmar people of today. At the same time, the Myanmar people have this wonderful memory of strange common suffering. When the last Mughal emperor was dethroned, he was taken in exile and kept in Yangon until he died. The Mughal Emperor, Shah. Just as he was taken into Myanmar, our king, when he was dethroned in 1886, he was taken to India, and he died in Ratnagiri in exile. So these two memories of common suffering have also brought the people together. It's a very strange situation that we have. And also, Myanmar's and India's struggle for independence has also promoted solidarity amongst the leaders and the people. They have drawn much inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi, the apostle of peace, of nonviolence, and also from Subhash Chandra Bose, who set up as an Indian National Army to liberate India from colonial rule. And also to this day, even you find it on the banknotes, is the image of General Aung San in his coat, heavy coat, overcoat. This was given to him when he was going to London to talk for independence. And when he met Jawaharlal Nehru in Delhi, Jawaharlal Nehru said, if you go like this to London, it was in the dead of winter, you will die. So he got his tailor to stitch him his special coat for him so that he could travel all the way to England and demand the independence, talk about independence with. This memory is very much, this image is very much prevalent amongst our people, this Indian, this matrix. And when we got our independence, the post-colonial era, the post-colonial times could be roughly defined, classified into 4 periods. The first period is the UNU period, and then the Ne Win period, the transition for 1 year, and then the military-dominated era, and the current time now. The era immediately following the formation of the new nation states of Burma and India is perceived as the golden age of Indo-Myanmar relations, both amongst the rulers, amongst the people. It is seen as the golden age of, really, it's a back and forth thing. The premiers of Myanmar and India, UNU and Jawaharlal Nehru, had a high degree of intellectual affinity and commonality of interest in charting and managing the respective new nation states' orientation amidst the superpower rivalry of the time. They pioneered the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence as the fundamentals of international relations, and were the founding fathers of the non-aligned movement of the newly independent Asian and African states. The two nations, of course, had positive perceptions of each other at the time, in spite of the critical post-independence adjustment issues between the two countries. At the time when we were independent, just beginning, we had a series of insurgencies in the country, and the Indian government even airlifted a plane load of armaments to the then beleaguered Burmese government to use in the battle against the communists and the insurgency at the time. However, in 1962, the Ne Win era began when General Ne Win staged a coup and seized power and began immediately a process of isolating Myanmar from the outside world. His excuse was, of course, to preserve Myanmar's hard-won independence from the battle arising out of the Cold War. And in this isolation, people of both our great neighbors, people of both Chinese and Indian ethnicity, were greatly affected by the isolationist policies. The wholesale nationalization of private business in 1964 led to the immigration of over 300,000 Indians to India, forced immigration. Personal relations between Indira Gandhi and Ne Win remained good, and overall relationship was one of mutual neglect and estrangement. Indians in particular became the target of much discrimination at that time. Premier Rajiv Gandhi, in 1987, he visited Myanmar in the hope of getting the relationships back to normal, to warm up the relations, to have a warm relationship. But however, what happened is that in 1988, again, we had a military, we had a very nationwide uprising and protest of epic approaches against the one-party state. And this caused the military to seize power. They cracked down very severely upon on the civilian population. At that time, India came out very strongly against the suppression of the demonstrations and in favor of the democracy movement. For this, and thereafter in 1992, India even sponsored a UN resolution calling on the military to respect the 1990 elections results and restore democracy. The result was that thereafter, until 1992 or 1993, relations were very strained, and only China maintained close ties with the regime, with the result that China had a surge of influence in Myanmar. In 1992, India again changed course and began to establish warmer relations with Myanmar as part of the wider foreign policy of increasing India's participation and influence in Southeast Asia in light of the surging influence of China. The policy reorientation of the part of India was perceived by the pro-democracy movement with much disappointment. However, India pursued, and now there is a major transformation in Myanmar as a consequence of India's accommodation with Myanmar, urging Myanmar to move towards a new phase in relation. In 2011, the military handed over power to a civilian elected parliament. And under this new system, under this new parliament, there are reforms towards parliamentary, firm parliamentary rule. And I can say that the relationship has greatly returned to a normal state, both in trade, in defense, and in security ties. However, the aspiration of the people of Myanmar is that they want the relationship between India and Myanmar to return to the golden age as when we had our independence. And in that, they look very much to the daughter of Aung San Suu Kyi, to help to build up this new relationship between the two. That in a nutshell is my presentation. Thank you very much.